The thing about grief is that it doesn't give a damn about your schedule, your plans, or your perfectly curated life in the Hollywood Hills. My mother's funeral was on a Tuesday, one of those crisp Los Angeles mornings where the smog lifts just enough to remind you why people moved here in the first place. I stood there in my black Prada dress, the one Mom had bought me for my 30th birthday 3 years ago, watching her mahogany casket being lowered into the ground at Forest Lawn. My husband Derek stood beside me, his hand resting on my shoulder and what anyone else would have mistaken for comfort, but I knew better. I'd known better for at least 2 years now, maybe longer if I'm being honest with myself. His hand felt heavy, possessive, like he was making sure I didn't bolt before he could do whatever he'd been planning. The service was beautiful. Mom would have hated it. She always said funerals were narcissistic productions for people who couldn't handle death like adults. When I go, Kate, just throw me in the ocean and have a stiff drink. She'd told me maybe 100 times. But her sister, my Aunt Patricia, had insisted on the whole production. The flowers, the priest, the reception at our house afterward. Our house. God, I'd been thinking of it as our house for so long, I'd almost forgotten that I'd been the one to put down the down payment. Derek had been between opportunities back then, which was his polite way of saying he'd been fired from his third startup in 2 years for being a colossal prick to his employees. But he had that lean, hungry look that some women can't resist. Strong jaw, dark hair, always perfectly tousled, eyes that crinkled when he smiled like he was letting you in on the world's best secret. Spoiler alert, the secret was that he was a manipulative bastard, but I didn't figure that out until way too late. The reception was packed. Mom had been one of those rare people who actually had friends, real ones, not the Instagram kind. Her book club showed up, her bridge ladies, her former colleagues from the architecture firm she'd run for 30 years. She'd designed some of the most iconic buildings in downtown LA, the kind of structures that made you stop and stare. I'd inherited her eye for beauty, but none of her ambition. Instead, I'd become a gallery curator, which sounds fancy, but mostly meant I spent my days kissing up to rich people who bought art they didn't understand for houses they barely lived in. Derek loved telling people what I did. It made him sound cultured by association. He was working the room like he was running for office, shaking hands, accepting condolences with this practiced solemnity that made me want to puke. "Your mother was an incredible woman," he kept saying. "Kate's devastated, just devastated." Meanwhile, I was standing by the bar my caterers had set up, yes, my caterers, paid for with my money, downing my third glass of Cabernet and trying not to scream. My best friend Simone materialized beside me, somehow looking effortlessly gorgeous in a simple black sheath dress that probably cost less than my shoes but looked 10 times better. "You holding up?" she asked, her hand finding mine. "I'm at my mother's funeral reception, Sim. How the hell do you think I'm holding up?" She squeezed my fingers. "Stupid question, sorry. Have you eaten anything? Food seems beside the point right now."
Kate, I'm fine, really. I wasn't fine. I hadn't been fine in longer than I wanted to admit. But what was I supposed to do? Break down in front of 200 people while my husband played the devoted spouse? That wasn't how we did things in my family. My mother had taught me that appearances mattered, that you kept your chin up and your problems private. It was very old school LA, the kind of mentality that built empires and destroyed souls. Derek quartered me near the kitchen around hour 3. The crowd had thinned to maybe 40 people, the diehards who'd known Mom forever and weren't ready to let her go. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low. "Now? Seriously? It's important." There was something in his tone that made my stomach drop. Not quite urgency, but something colder, calculated. "Derek, my mother just, I know, but this can't wait." He steered me toward his study, my study, technically, though he'd taken it over within 6 months of moving in, and closed the door. The room still smelled like Mom's perfume. She'd been staying with us the last month of her life, after the cancer had gotten too aggressive for her to manage alone in her Malibu house. Pancreatic cancer. The kind that doesn't give you time to say all the things you need to say, that doesn't care that you're only 63 and still have so much life to live. Derek walked to his desk and picked up a manila envelope. My heart started hammering before my brain could catch up. What is that? Kate, I care about you. I need you to know that first. Derek, what the hell is that? He thrust the envelope at me. I think we both know this hasn't been working for a while now. And with your mom gone, there's no reason to keep pretending. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Divorce papers. Pristine, professionally prepared divorce papers with little neon tabs marking where I needed to sign. You're serving me divorce papers at my mother's funeral? My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from underwater. It's not ideal timing, I know, but Kate, come on. We've been miserable for at least a year. Your mom's death, as tragic as it is, it's also kind of perfect timing. One less thing for you to worry about. You can focus on yourself now. Start fresh. We both can. I stared at him. Really looked at him for maybe the first time in months. The practiced sympathy was gone, replaced with something eager, almost excited. He wanted this. He'd been waiting for this. How long have you been planning this? Does it matter? How long? He shrugged. A few months. Look, I talked to my lawyer, and with the prenup, this should be pretty straightforward. Clean break. You keep your stuff, I keep mine. No alimony, no drama. The prenup. Of course. Derek had insisted on it before we got married, said it was just smart planning. My dad got taken to the cleaners by his ex-wife. I just want to protect what's mine. What was his, apparently, was jack shit. Because everything, the house, the cars, the investment accounts, my gallery salary, was mine. I paid for everything. But I'd been young and in love and stupid enough to think that a prenup meant he trusted me, that it was a sign of our modern equal partnership.
God, I'd been such an idiot. You know what? I said, my voice eerily calm. You're right. Perfect timing. I grabbed a pen from the desk and started signing where the tabs indicated. Derek looked almost startled. You're signing them now? Why not? Like you said. Clean break. Fresh start. I could see him trying to read me, trying to figure out if this was a trap, but I just kept signing, page after page, my signature getting more aggressive with each one. Just like that, he said. Just like that. I finished the last page and shoved the envelope back at him. Anything else, or can I get back to mourning my mother? He actually had the balls to look hurt. Kate, I thought you'd want to talk about this. Maybe wait a few days? You said it yourself, Derek. Perfect timing. Now get the hell out of my study. He left, clutching the envelope like it might explode. I waited until I heard his footsteps fade before I let myself collapse into the leather chair behind the desk. My hands were still shaking, but not from sadness, from rage. Pure, white-hot rage. Who serves divorce papers at a funeral? What kind of sociopath looks at their grieving wife and thinks, yeah, now's the moment? I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw things. But instead, I sat there in the quiet, listening to the muffled sounds of the reception still going on outside, and I started to laugh. Because Derek had just made the biggest mistake of his life, and he didn't even know it. 3 days before she died, Mom had called me to her bedside at Cedars-Sinai. The morphine had made her loopy, but her eyes were sharp as ever. Baby, I need to tell you something. Mom, save your strength. Shut up and listen. I'm dying. I get to talk. She'd grabbed my hand with surprising strength. I redid my will 2 months ago. Everything comes to you. The houses, the investments, the life insurance, everything. Your father's estate, the firm's proceeds from when I sold it, all of it. $4.2 million, give or take. I'd tried to process this. Mom, that's not possible. The firm sold for way more than... I know what it sold for. I've been very good at making money grow, Catherine. Very good. She'd squeezed my hand harder. But here's the thing. That husband of yours can never know. Not until after I'm gone and the will's been read.
He's a vulture, baby. I've watched him these past few years. He's waiting for something, and I won't have him getting his claws into my life's work. Derek's not that bad, Mom. He's worse. Trust me. I've seen 1,000 men like him in my career. They smile and charm and wait. And when they see their opening, they strike. She'd been right. She died on a Saturday. Derek served me papers the following Tuesday. And now, sitting in this study, surrounded by the last traces of my mother's perfume, I understood exactly what she'd meant. Derek had been watching Mom waste away, doing his financial calculus. He'd seen a sick woman with money and a daughter who'd inherit. He'd probably been hoping to stay married long enough to get his hands on some of it, prenup or not. But when the end came faster than expected, he panicked. Better to cut and run now before I came into the inheritance. Better to be free to find his next mark. Except he'd jumped the gun. The will hadn't been read yet. Mom's lawyer, Frank Hutchins, had scheduled the reading for Friday, 3 days from now. Derek had no idea what was coming. None. I pulled out my phone and texted Simone. Need you. Study. Now. She appeared 60 seconds later, closing the door behind her. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Derek just served me divorce papers. He what? Her voice went up about 3 octaves. At your mother's funeral? He said it was perfect timing, one less thing to worry about. Simone's face went through about 15 different expressions in 2 seconds. I'm gonna kill him. Kate, I'm seriously going to kill him. Where is he? I'll do it right now. Sim, stop. Listen to me. I leaned forward. Mom left me everything. $4.2 million. The will gets read Friday. The color drained from Simone's face. Derek doesn't know. Derek doesn't know. And the prenup means he gets nothing. Not one dime. We stared at each other for a long moment. Then Simone started to smile. It was the kind of smile sharks probably make before they strike. Kate Rodriguez, are you thinking what I think you're thinking? I signed the paper, Sim. He's getting exactly what he deserves. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is beautiful. This is poetic justice. She grabbed my hands. But wait, you can't let him know about the money until after the divorce is final. If he finds out now, he'll try to stop the proceedings, claim you hid assets or something. The will isn't even read yet. Technically, I don't have the assets to hide. Even better! She was practically vibrating with excitement now. So you just play the grieving widow. I am grieving. Right, of course. I'm sorry. But you play it up. You let him think you're devastated about both losses. You don't change anything about your behavior or your spending. You just wait. I wait. And then, once the divorce is final and you're free and clear, then the will gets executed. And Derek can choke on his perfect timing. I felt something twist in my chest. Not quite revenge, not yet, but the potential for it, the promise of it. Is this wrong? Is this a terrible thing to do? Simone looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Kate, this man just served you divorce papers at your mother's funeral, and not even during the reception, during the actual reception at your house. He's not a victim here. He's a predator who miscalculated. She was right. Of course she was right. But some small part of me, the part that had loved Derek once upon a time, felt sick about it. That part got a lot smaller when Derek came back downstairs 20 minutes later. His whole energy changed. He was practically bouncing. He clearly made some phone calls, probably to his boys, his terrible friends who'd encouraged every bad decision he'd ever made. Tyler, Mason, Brad, a collection of finance bros who thought they were wolves of Wall Street but were really just assholes in expensive suits. Hey, he said, spotting me in the living room. The remaining guests had finally cleared out. Simone was in the kitchen helping the caterers pack up. Listen, I know that was rough earlier. Why don't I stay in the guest room tonight? We can start separating our stuff tomorrow. Actually, I'd prefer if you stayed somewhere else. His eyebrows shot up. It's my house too, Kate.
Is it, though? I'd check the deed if I were you. His face twitched. We're married. Community property state. The house might be in your name, but nothing. California community property laws don't apply to assets owned before marriage. I bought this house 2 years before I met you. It's mine. So you can either pack a bag and leave voluntarily, or I can call the cops and have you removed. I watched him recalculate. I could practically see the spreadsheet running in his head. Fine, he said tightly. I'll stay at Tyler's, but my lawyer's going to hear about this. I'm sure he will. Give Stan my regards. Derek stomped upstairs to pack. Simone materialized beside me with 2 fresh glasses of wine. Damn, girl, that was stone cold. I learned from the best. We clinked glasses. Through the window, the Los Angeles sunset was painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. The city looked beautiful from up here, all light and possibility, hiding all its ugly secrets below. Derek came back down with a hastily packed duffel bag. He changed into jeans and a t-shirt, his funeral armor discarded. This isn't how I wanted this to go. Sure it is. You wanted a clean break. Consider this very clean. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something else, then thought better of it. Smart man, finally showing some intelligence. I watched his Mercedes pull out of the driveway, my driveway, and felt something loosen in my chest. Simone draped an arm around my shoulders. How you doing? I don't know. Ask me Friday after the will reading. You want me to come with you? Frank said immediate family only, but I'm going to need you after. Drinks at Perch? Drinks at Perch, she confirmed. And Kate, your mom would be proud. She was always a fighter. That made my throat tight. Mom had been a fighter. She'd built her firm from nothing in the 70s when women architects were basically unicorns. She'd weathered my dad's death when I was 12, raising me alone while running a company. She'd survived breast cancer in her 50s, and she'd seen right through Derek when I was too blinded by what I thought was love to notice the truth. I spent the next 3 days in a weird limbo. I went through Mom's things at the Malibu house, boxing up her clothes, her books, her sketches. Aunt Patricia helped, crying softly the whole time. I didn't cry. I couldn't. It felt like if I started, I'd never stop. Derek texted me once. Can we talk about the division of assets? I didn't respond. Wednesday night, I was sorting through Mom's jewelry when I found a letter addressed to me in her handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Kate, my darling girl, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't stay longer. There was so much more I wanted to teach you, so many more years I wanted with you. But life doesn't ask permission. You're stronger than you know. You always have been. You got that from me. Stubborn, resilient, too smart for your own good sometimes. But you also got your father's kind heart, and that's made you vulnerable to people who don't deserve you. Derek does not deserve you. I knew it the day I met him. The way he looked at our house, our cars, our life, he was calculating, measuring, planning. He was waiting for me to go so he could make his move. That's why I made sure to protect you. The money, the assets, they're yours. Build something with them. Build the life you deserve, not the life someone else wants from you. And Kate, don't let this make you hard. Don't let Derek poison what's beautiful in you. There are good men out there, good people. You'll find them. Just be more careful about who you let in next time. I love you forever. Mom. I did cry then. Sobbed so hard that Simone, who'd been staying with me all week, came running from downstairs thinking something had happened. Just Mom, I managed to choke out. Just missing Mom. She held me while I fell apart, and for the first time since the funeral, I let myself actually feel it. The loss. The grief. The anger at Derek for tainting these last precious days with his bullshit. And under it all, a growing sense of purpose. Mom had protected me. Now it was my turn to finish what she'd started. Friday came too fast and not fast enough. I put on my armor, a shark black Armani suit, hair pulled back, makeup minimal but perfect. I looked like I belonged in a boardroom, not a lawyer's office. Frank Hutchins worked out of a converted Craftsman in Pasadena, all dark wood and leather furniture. Very old LA money. He was in his 70s, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, the kind of lawyer who'd been handling my family's affairs since before I was born. "Catherine," he said, standing to greet me.
I'm so sorry about Anne. She was an incredible woman. Thank you, Frank. Please sit. This shouldn't take long. Your mother was very clear about her wishes. He pulled out a thick document. The short version is that you inherit everything: the Malibu house, the investment portfolio, the life insurance policy, and the proceeds from the sale of her firm, which she'd been investing quite successfully. The total comes to approximately $4.2 million. Hearing it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. $4.2 million. More money than I'd ever imagined having. There are some stipulations, Frank continued. The Malibu house is yours to do with as you wish, but she hoped you'd keep it in the family. The investments are diversified, mostly in index funds and real estate. Very conservative, very stable. She wanted to make sure you were taken care of. And Derek? I couldn't help asking. What about him? Frank's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Your mother was quite specific about Mr. Chen. He's not mentioned in the will at all. As her son-in-law, he would have no legal claim to her estate regardless, but she wanted it clearly stated that he was to receive nothing. Her words were, and I quote, "That fortune hunter doesn't get a penny of what I built." I felt myself smile. Even from beyond the grave, Mom was protecting me. She really didn't like him. She really didn't, though between you and me, I think she was right. I met him a few times over the years. Always seemed like he was sizing things up. He was. I told Frank about the divorce papers, about Derek's perfect timing. Frank's face went through several expressions, landing on something between fury and professional composure. That son of a bitch. Catherine, I'm so sorry. Don't be. He has no idea about the inheritance.
Aha! And when does the divorce finalize? His lawyer estimated 6 months, given that we have no kids and the prenup makes things straightforward. So Mr. Chen thinks he's leaving a marriage with nothing to gain and is probably quite pleased with himself. Exactly. Frank leaned back in his chair, a slow smile spreading across his face. Your mother would have loved this. She always appreciated a good comeuppance. She did. We went through the rest of the paperwork, signatures, transfers, account numbers. By the time I left Frank's office 2 hours later, I was officially a multimillionaire, and officially still married to a man who had no idea what he'd just walked away from. I met Simone at Perch, as promised. She was already 2 cocktails deep and bouncing in her seat when I arrived. Well? $4.2 million, I said, sliding into the booth. Frank confirmed everything. It's all mine. Simone screamed. Actually screamed. Several people turned to look. Sorry, she called out. Just got some really good news. She grabbed my hands across the table. Kate, do you understand what this means? You're free. You're rich. You're completely free. I'm still married for 6 more months. A technicality. Derek already moved out, right? You're separated. You can start living your life right now. She had a point. The divorce was just paperwork at this point. Derek and I hadn't even spoken since Tuesday. For all intents and purposes, I was single. What are you going to do? Simone asked. I don't know. Keep working, I guess. I like my job. Kate, you just inherited $4 million. You could quit tomorrow, travel the world, start your own gallery, do whatever the hell you want. She was right. I could do whatever I wanted. The weight of that freedom was almost suffocating. I'd spent the last 5 years building my life around Derek's needs, his schedule, his moods. I'd stopped having my own hobbies, my own friends, except Simone, who'd refused to be pushed out. I'd become smaller to make room for him. I think I need time, I said. Time to figure out who I am without him, without anyone. That's fair. But Kate, promise me one thing. What? Promise me you'll make him pay. Not with money, he already lost that battle, but emotionally. I want him to know what he threw away. I want him to choke on his regret. I thought about Mom's letter, about her warning not to let Derek make me hard.
But there was a difference between being hard and demanding justice, between being bitter and refusing to be a victim. "I promise," I said. We toasted with our cocktails, the city sparkling below us like a field of fallen stars. I didn't know it then, but Derek's unraveling had already started. His lawyer Stan had filed the divorce papers that afternoon. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned, exactly as Derek had orchestrated. What Derek didn't know was that Stan was a terrible gossip, and over drinks that same Friday night at a bar in Century City, he'd let slip to a colleague that Derek Chen was divorcing his wife mere days after her mother's death. The colleague had a wife who knew someone in my social circle. By Saturday morning, the Whisper network was buzzing. Derek Chen had served divorce papers at a funeral. Derek Chen was a monster. Derek Chen was persona non grata. His phone started blowing up Saturday afternoon.
I know because he texted me, "Did you tell people about the divorce? Why is everyone calling me an asshole?" I didn't respond. Let him figure it out himself. Sunday morning, I was having coffee on my terrace, my house, my life, when Simone called. "Have you seen Instagram?" I actively avoid Instagram, you know this. "Check Derek's account, now." I pulled up the app, something I hadn't done in days. Derek's latest post was from Tuesday, the day of the funeral. It was a photo of himself looking contemplative against a sunset backdrop. The caption read, "Sometimes endings are necessary for new beginnings. Choosing myself today. #new chapter, fresh start, moving on." The comments were brutal. "Did you seriously post this the day of your wife's mother's funeral? You're trash. Hope the divorce costs you everything, asshole." Imagine being this pathetic. There were hundreds more, each one more cutting than the last. Someone had connected the dots, figured out the timing. Derek's friends had tried to defend him in the comments, but they'd been ratioed into oblivion. I felt something warm bloom in my chest. Not quite satisfaction, but close. The court of public opinion had already judged Derek Chen, and they'd found him wanting. My phone rang. Derek. I considered not answering, but curiosity won. "What?" "Kate, I need you to tell people this isn't what it looks like." His voice was frantic. "I'm getting death threats. Someone called my office and told my boss I'm a sociopath." "Are you calling to ask me to lie for you?" "I'm calling to ask you to tell the truth. I'm not a bad guy. We were already having problems. The timing was just perfect." That's what you said, Derek. Perfect timing. One less thing to worry about. "You know I didn't mean it like that." "I know exactly what you meant, and apparently so does everyone else." "Kate, please, this is affecting my career, my reputation." I thought about hanging up, but something stopped me. Maybe it was Mom's voice in my head reminding me not to let this make me hard. "Derek, you made a choice. You chose to serve me divorce papers at my mother's funeral. You chose to prioritize your exit strategy over basic human decency. These are consequences. Accept them. But we're done here. Don't call me again unless it's about the divorce proceedings." I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking, but not from fear or sadness, from power. I was done being the understanding wife, done making excuses for him, done protecting him from himself. Simone was right. It was time to make him pay. Not with cruelty. I wasn't like him. But with truth. With the slow, dawning realization of what he'd lost. The divorce would take 6 months, and I was going to make sure Derek spent every single day of those 6 months understanding exactly what he'd thrown away. But that revelation, that reckoning, that was going to take time to build. For now, I had a funeral to finish processing, a fortune to figure out, and a life to reclaim. The real revenge wouldn't come from anything I did to Derek. It would come from everything I did for myself. From building something so beautiful, so successful, so undeniably mine, that he'd spend the rest of his life wondering how he'd been stupid enough to walk away.
Mom had given me the tools. Now it was time to build. What will Kate do with her newfound fortune? How will Derek react when he finally discovers the truth? And what secrets from their marriage are about to surface?
The thing about money is that it changes everything without changing anything. I was still me, still Kate Honrigas, gallery curator, newly separated woman living in the Hollywood Hills. But now I was Kate Rodriguez with $4.2 million sitting in various accounts, and that made people look at me differently. Or maybe I was just finally seeing clearly. Monday morning, I went back to work at the Hartwell Gallery in West Hollywood. My boss, Veronica, took one look at me and pulled me into her office. "Kate, honey, you don't have to be here. Take more time." I need the distraction. That was partially true. The other part was that I needed to maintain normalcy. Derek couldn't know anything had changed. As far as he was concerned, I was just his soon-to-be ex-wife, working my regular job, living my regular life. Veronica studied me with those sharp eyes that had made her one of the most successful gallery owners in LA. I heard about Derek. The timing. Everyone's heard about Derek. Want me to blacklist him from our events? She said it so casually, like she was offering me coffee. That was the thing about LA's art world. It was small, and it was vicious when it wanted to be. One word from Veronica Hartwell could make or break someone's social standing. "No," I said. "Let him keep digging his own grave." She smiled. "You're more like your mother than you give yourself credit for." The week passed in a blur of work and paperwork. Frank was handling the transfer of Mom's assets, which meant endless forms and signatures. I kept everything quiet, told no one except Simone about the inheritance. At the gallery, I threw myself into preparing for our upcoming exhibition, a showcase of emerging LA artists that I'd been curating for months. Derek texted sporadically. "Need to pick up some of my stuff. When can we discuss the furniture split? My lawyer says we need to inventory shared assets." I responded tersely, giving him time slots when he could come by the house with the witness present. I wasn't stupid enough to be alone with him. Thursday evening, he showed up right on schedule. Simone was there, sitting on the couch with a glass of wine and a look that could cut glass. "Kate," Derek said, barely acknowledging Simone. "Derek." He looked different. Tired. There were circles under his eyes, and his normally perfect hair was slightly disheveled. "Good." I made a list of things I want. The Eames chair in the living room, the sound system, the coffee table. I bought all of those. He flinched. "We picked them out together." "Yes. And I paid for them, so they're mine." "Kate, come on. You're really going to be petty about furniture?" Simone snorted from the couch. "Says the man who served divorce papers at a funeral." Derek's jaw tightened. "This doesn't concern you, Simone." "Actually, it does. I'm the witness. Kate asked me here to make sure you don't try to take anything that isn't yours." "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" "It means," I said evenly, "that I know you, Derek. I know how you operate. So you're going to take your clothes, your books, and your personal items.
Everything else stays here. His face was turning red. "This is bullshit. My lawyer's at... Your lawyer can take it up with my lawyer. But spoiler alert, the prenup is ironclad. You signed away any claim to assets I owned before the marriage. And since I bought 90% of everything in this house before we met, you're walking away with basically nothing." I watched him process this, watched the calculations running behind his eyes. "You planned this," he said. "You've been planning to screw me over this whole time." "No, Derek. I planned to build a life with someone I loved. You plan to screw me over. There's a difference." He looked like he wanted to throw something. Instead, he stormed upstairs to the bedroom we'd once shared. Simone gave me a thumbs up. "You're a stone-cold badass." "I'm just done being a doormat." Derek came back down 40 minutes later with 3 suitcases and a box of random items. "I'll send movers for the rest." "You do that." He paused at the door. "This isn't over, Kate." "Yeah, it is." After he left, Simone poured us both more wine. That felt good, right? It felt necessary. But she was right. It had felt good. Every day I was reclaiming a little more of myself. That weekend, I drove out to Malibu to spend time at Mom's house. Our house now, I guess. It was a stunning, mid-century modern, perched on the cliffs, all glass and clean lines. Mom had designed it herself in the 90s, her personal masterpiece. I walked through the rooms, touching her things, trying to feel her presence. In her study, I found her old sketchbooks from when she'd been building her firm. Page after page of architectural drawings, notes in the margins, dreams made concrete. "I miss you," I whispered to the empty room. "I miss you so damn much." My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Is this Kate Rodriguez?" A woman's voice, nervous. "Yes. Who's this?" "My name is Jessica Chambers. I need to talk to you about Derek." My blood went cold. "What about him?" "Can we meet? Please? There's something you need to know." We agreed to meet at a coffee shop in Santa Monica an hour later. I texted Simone. "Emergency. Need backup. Java Jones on Main Street." She was there before I was, already scoping out the place. "What's going on?" "Some woman named Jessica Chambers wants to talk to me about Derek." Simone's eyes went wide. "You don't think—" "I don't know what to think." Jessica Chambers turned out to be a petite blonde in her late 20s, pretty in that generic LA way. She looked terrified when I walked up to her table. "Kate?" she asked. "That's me." I sat down across from her, Simone sliding in beside me. "This is my friend Simone." "Hi," Jessica said weakly. There was a long pause. She was clutching her coffee cup like a life preserver. "So," I said finally, "what did you want to tell me about Derek?" Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "God, this is so hard. I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was married until last week." The bottom dropped out of my stomach. "You're sleeping with Derek." "Was," past tense, "for about 6 months." She was crying now, mascara running down her face. "I work at his office. He told me he was separated, that the divorce was almost final. Then I saw the posts online about the funeral, and I put it together. He'd been lying to me this whole time." 6 months. Derek had been cheating on me for 6 months, while my mother was dying, while I was spending every spare moment at her bedside.
He'd been screwing his coworker. Simone's hand found mine under the table. "Keep talking," she said to Jessica, her voice hard. "He pursued me really aggressively," Jessica continued. "Took me to nice dinners, said all the right things. He told me about his marriage, how it had been over for years, how he was just waiting for the right time to leave. When I found out the truth, that he'd served you divorce papers at your mother's funeral, I felt sick. That's not the man he pretended to be." "No," I said quietly, "it's not. That's the man he actually is." "I'm so sorry. I wanted you to know because I thought you deserved to know the truth. And because he's still telling people he left you. He's making you sound like the bad guy, like you were controlling and cold and pushed him away." Of course he was. Derek never accepted responsibility for anything. It was always someone else's fault, someone else's failing. "Is there anyone else?" I asked. "Anyone else he's seeing?" Jessica hesitated. "I don't know for sure, but there was a night, maybe a month ago, when he couldn't meet me because he said he had work stuff. I drove by his place, Tyler's place, where he's staying, and saw him with another woman. Brunette, taller than me." "Did you confront him?" "No. I was already starting to realize he wasn't who he said he was. The woman just confirmed it." Simone leaned forward. "Jessica, would you be willing to put this in writing? For the divorce proceedings?" "Will it help?" "It might. Depends on what Kate wants to do with the information." Jessica looked at me. "Whatever you need. I'm so sorry I was part of this. If I'd known—" "It's not your fault," I said, and meant it. "He's a liar. That's on him, not you." We exchanged numbers. Jessica left looking slightly less terrified. Simone turned to me. "You okay?" "No, but I will be." The affair shouldn't have surprised me. Looking back, there were signs. Late nights at the office, unexplained expenses on credit cards, the way he'd pull away when I tried to touch him. I'd been so consumed with Mom's illness that I had ignored them all.
What are you going to do? Simone asked. I'm going to tell my lawyer, and I'm going to make sure Derek knows that I know. Kate! He doesn't get to control the narrative anymore. He doesn't get to paint me as the villain while he plays the victim. I called my lawyer, Patricia Morrison, from the car. She was a shark in Louboutins, recommended by Frank Hutchins. Kate, hello. What can I do for you? Derek was having an affair. Multiple affairs, possibly. I just met with one of his mistresses. There was a pause. Well, that changes things. Does it? We have a prenup. It doesn't change the financial settlement, no, but it does give us leverage, and it means if he tries to drag this out or make things difficult, we have ammunition. I want to use it. Are you sure? Once we go down this road, I'm sure. He served me divorce papers at my mother's funeral, Patricia. He doesn't get mercy. Fair enough. Send me everything you have. I'll start building the case. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying my marriage in my head, looking for the moment it had gone wrong. When had Derek stopped loving me? Had he ever loved me at all? Or had I just been a means to an end, a woman with money and connections who could give him the lifestyle he wanted? My phone buzzed, a text from Derek. We need to talk, face to face. I deleted it without responding.
The next few weeks were a masterclass in moving forward. I threw myself into work, into preparing Mom's Malibu house for sale. I couldn't keep it, there were too many memories. Into building the life I actually wanted instead of the one I'd fallen into. The gallery exhibition opened to rave reviews. I'd discovered a young artist named Marcus Chen, no relation to Derek, thank God, whose large-scale paintings were getting serious attention. Veronica pulled me aside after the opening night party. That was brilliant curation, Kate. Really brilliant. Thanks. I mean it. You have an eye. Have you ever thought about opening your own gallery? Not really. It was a lie. I'd thought about it for years, but Derek had always shot the idea down. Too risky, he'd said. Too much overhead. Why not just stay at Hartwell and collect a steady paycheck? But now, Derek was gone, and I had $4 million burning a hole in my pocket. Would you be upset if I did? I asked Veronica. She laughed. Honey, I'd be proud. This industry needs more people like you. People who actually give a shit about the art instead of just the profit margins. I'll think about it. That weekend, I met with a real estate agent about potential gallery spaces. Just looking, just exploring options. But with each space I saw, I could feel something building in my chest. Possibility. Hope. The future I'd been too scared to reach for. Tuesday afternoon, 2 weeks after Jessica's revelation, I was at the gallery when Derek showed up unannounced. Security tried to stop him, but he pushed past, wild-eyed and desperate. Kate, we need to talk. Veronica peered from her office like a fury in Chanel. Mr. Chen, you need to leave. Now. I need 5 minutes with my wife. Soon to be ex-wife, I corrected. And no, whatever you have to say, you can say through your lawyer. Kate, please, I know Jessica talked to you. I can explain. Explain what, Derek? That you're a cheating liar? That you were screwing your coworker while my mother was dying? Yeah, I think I've got that figured out. People were staring now. Other gallery patrons, staff members. Derek's face was red. You don't understand. Jessica was... It wasn't serious. It was just what, Derek? A distraction? A way to pass the time while you waited for my mom to die so you could dump me? His mouth opened and closed. That's not... Get out, Veronica said, her voice like ice. Get out of my gallery or I'm calling the police. Derek looked at me one more time, something desperate and pleading in his eyes. But I just stared back, unmoved. He'd made his choices. Now he got to live with them. Security escorted him out. Veronica squeezed my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. That night, Patricia called. Derek's lawyer reached out. He wants to expedite the divorce. Why? My guess, he's realizing he has no leverage and wants to cut his losses. Or maybe the public backlash is getting to him. Either way, we can probably get this done in 3 months instead of 6 if you're amenable. 3 months. I could be free in 3 months. Do it. There's something else. He's asking for a confidentiality clause. He doesn't want you talking about the affair publicly. I laughed. Actually laughed. Tell him no. Tell him if he wants this divorce expedited, he signs without any additional clauses and he issues a public apology.
Kate, that's non-negotiable. He ruined his own reputation. He can own it. Patricia was quiet for a moment. You're kind of scary when you're angry. I learned from the best. Mom would have been proud. Hell, Mom probably was proud, wherever she was. The next day, Derek agreed to the terms. Patricia forwarded me his statement, which he'd posted on Instagram. I want to apologize for my recent actions. I handled my separation from my wife poorly, and my timing was inexcusable. Kate deserves better, and I'm sorry for the pain I caused. I'm working on being a better person moving forward. It was lukewarm at best, but it was something. The comments were still brutal, though. Apparently, once the internet decided you were an asshole, there was no coming back. The divorce moved forward quickly after that. Depositions, paperwork, asset divisions. Derek tried one last time to claim the Eames chair, and I let him have it, just to be done with him. By mid-October, just 3 months after he'd served me papers at my mom's funeral, it was over. Final. Done. I was Kate Rodriguez again. Just Kate. Free. Simone took me out to celebrate. We went to Catch and ordered everything on the menu. Champagne flowing like water. How does it feel? She asked, raising her glass. Like I can finally breathe. We toasted to new beginnings, to freedom, to the future. So, Simone said, leaning forward conspiratorially, when are you going to tell Derek about the money? I'm not. What? Kate, come on. You have to. The look on his face would be satisfying for about 5 seconds. But then what? He tries to contest the divorce, claims I had assets, makes my life hell? I shook my head. No. The best revenge is him never knowing what he walked away from. Let him think he dodged a bullet. Let him think he got out clean. Simone considered this. That's actually more savage than rubbing it in his face. I know. We clinked glasses. But fate, as it turned out, had other plans. Because 2 weeks later, Derek found out everything. And when he did, it wasn't just devastating, it was nuclear. I was at my new gallery space in Culver City, meeting with contractors about renovations, when my phone started blowing up. Text after text, all from people I barely knew. Is it true? OMG, Kate, I had no idea. Your mom left you how much? My stomach dropped. I called Simone. Someone leaked the inheritance. What? How? I don't know, but people are texting me about it, which means Derek knows. I sank down onto the dusty floor of my would-be gallery. Shit. Kate, it's going to be okay. The divorce is final. He can't touch the money. I know, but what? Why did I feel so strange about this? I'd wanted Derek to suffer, wanted him to understand what he'd thrown away. Now he would know. So why did it feel hollow? My phone rang. Derek. I answered without thinking. Kate? His voice was strangled. Is it true? Is what true? Don't play dumb. Your mother's estate. $4 million? I closed my eyes. Yes. There was a long silence. Then, you let me divorce you? You let me walk away from $4 million? You wanted the divorce, Derek. You served the papers, remember? Perfect timing, you said. I didn't know. If I'd known... What?
You would have stayed? Tried to get your hands on Mama's money? That's exactly why she cut you out of the will. She knew what you were. He made a sound like something breaking. Kate, please. We can work this out. We were good together once. We can be good again. We don't have to be divorced. We can file. No. Kate! We're done, Derek. The divorce is final. The money is mine. You made your choice. And you get to live with it. This isn't fair. His voice was rising, cracking. You lied to me. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you something that was none of your business. There's a difference. You vindictive bitch! I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from relief. It was over. Really, truly over. Derek called 17 more times that night. I blocked his number. He tried to email me. I blocked that too. He showed up at my house the next day, pounding on the door until my neighbor called the cops. Patricia filed for a restraining order on my behalf. He's spiraling, she said. Classic narcissist losing control. He thought he'd won, and now he's realized he lost everything. Good, I said. And I meant it. The story made the rounds in LA social circles for a few weeks. Did you hear about Kate Rodriguez? Her husband divorced her right after her mom died, then found out the mom left her $4 million. Apparently, the prenup meant he got nothing. Can you imagine? I became a cautionary tale, a legend, a punchline, depending on who was telling the story. But I didn't care. I had my gallery to build, my life to live, my future to create. Derek, meanwhile, imploded spectacularly. He got fired from his job after his behavior became too erratic. Jessica Chambers filed a harassment complaint. Tyler kicked him out of his apartment after Derek drank too much one night and put his fist through a wall. By November, Derek Chen was a pariah. Broke, unemployed, living in a studio apartment in the valley, watching the life he'd thought he'd curated fall apart. I should have felt satisfied, vindicated, but mostly, I just felt tired. One Friday night in December, 6 months after Mom's funeral, I was at the Malibu house, which I'd decided to keep after all, watching the sunset over the Pacific. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Kate, it's Derek. I know you blocked me. I'm not asking for money or forgiveness. I just want you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Not sorry I lost the money. Sorry for who I was to you. Sorry for not seeing what I had. You deserved better. You always did. I hope you're happy. Genuinely. You earned it. I'm deleting this number after I send this. I won't bother you again. Goodbye, Kate. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to twist the knife one more time, but what would that accomplish? Derek was already destroyed. Anything I said would just be cruel. Instead, I deleted the message and poured myself a glass of wine. Outside, the sun was setting in brilliant shades of orange and pink, the ocean stretching out forever. Somewhere in this city, Derek was starting over with nothing. And somewhere in this same city, I was building everything I'd ever wanted. My gallery was opening in 3 months. I had Mom's house, her money, her legacy. I had Simone, Veronica, Frank, Patricia, people who actually cared about me. I had myself back. And that was worth more than any revenge. The weird thing about closure is that it doesn't always feel like you think it will.
I'd imagine confronting Derek, making him grovel, watching him break. But the reality was quieter than that, less dramatic. He'd simply gone away, faded out of my life like he'd never been there at all. Except he had been there. For 5 years, he'd been my husband, my partner, my future. And now he was just a story I told sometimes, a lesson learned, a chapter closed. I thought about Mom's letter, about not letting Derek make me hard. I'd been so focused on revenge, on making him pay, that I'd almost lost sight of what mattered. Building the life I actually wanted. Not building it in spite of Derek or to show him what he'd lost, but building it for me. Because I deserved it. Because I survived. Because I was more than my grief, more than my anger, more than my broken marriage. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I raised my glass to the empty sky. "Thanks, Mom," I whispered, "for everything." The ocean whispered back, steady and eternal. And for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. But peace, as I was about to discover, was just the beginning. Because in 3 months, when my gallery opened, someone would walk through the door who would change everything I thought I knew about love, about trust, about starting over. Someone who would show me that sometimes the story isn't about revenge at all. Sometimes it's about redemption. But I didn't know that yet. For now, I just had the sunset, the wine, and the quiet knowledge that I'd made it through the worst. The rest, the gallery, the future, the possibility of something new, that was all still waiting for me. And for the first time in a very long time, I couldn't wait to see what came next. Derek knows the truth, and his world has crumbled. But Kate's journey is far from over. In part 3, the grand opening of her gallery brings unexpected revelations, a confrontation that will change everything, and the true meaning of moving forward. The final chapter reveals the secret that will make sense of it all. They say the best revenge is living well, but nobody tells you how exhausting living well can be. January in Los Angeles brought rain for the first time in months, washing the city clean. My gallery, Miranda's, named after Mom's middle name, was set to open in 6 weeks. The renovations were almost done, the artists were lined up, and I was running on coffee and anxiety. "You need to eat something that isn't from a vending machine," Simone said, appearing at the construction site with Thai food. "You're a savior." We sat on paint-splattered tarps, eating pad thai straight from the containers while contractors hammered away in the background. "How's it feel?" "Terrifying, exciting, like I'm about to throw up constantly." That's how you know it's right. She was right. Despite the anxiety, despite the massive financial risk, even with Mom's money, opening a gallery in LA was no joke. This was mine. Not Derek's. Not anyone's. Mine. My phone buzzed. Patricia. "Kate, we have a situation." My stomach dropped. "What kind of situation?" "Derek's filed a motion to reopen the divorce settlement. He's claiming you hid assets." I nearly choked on my noodles. "We're divorced. It's final. He can try. His argument is that the inheritance occurred during the marriage and should have been subject to community property laws.
The inheritance came from my mother's will, which was executed after Derek had already served papers. And the prenup, I know. His case is bullshit, frankly. But it means we have to go to court and prove it's bullshit, which costs time and money. I wanted to scream. Derek just couldn't let it go. Even destroyed, even with nothing left to lose, he was still trying to take from me. "When's the hearing?" 2 weeks. Can you make it? I'll be there." After Patricia hung up, Simone put her hand on my arm. "He's desperate. That's what this is. He's a parasite." That too. The next 2 weeks were chaos. Gallery prep during the day, legal prep at night. Patricia was confident we'd win. The prenup was airtight, and Derek's claim was transparently frivolous, but the stress was eating me alive. I started having nightmares. Derek breaking into the gallery and destroying everything. Derek somehow winning and taking everything Mom had left me. Derek. Even gone, he was still haunting me. The hearing was on a Friday at the downtown courthouse. I wore the same Armani suit I'd worn to the will reading, my armor. Patricia looked sharp as a blade in navy blue. Derek sat across the aisle with a court-appointed attorney. He couldn't afford Stan anymore. He looked terrible. Thin, unkempt, his suit wrinkled like he'd slept in it. When our eyes met, I felt nothing. Not anger, not pity. Nothing. Judge Morrison was a stern woman in her 60s who looked like she'd seen every scam in the book. She reviewed the filings, then looked at Derek over her glasses. "Mr. Chen, you're claiming that your ex-wife hid assets during your marriage?" Derek's lawyer stood. "Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Rodriguez came into a substantial inheritance that we believe should have been disclosed during the divorce proceedings."
The inheritance was from her mother's estate, correct? Yes, Your Honor. And when was the will executed? After the divorce petition was filed, but nothing, counsel. California law is clear. Assets inherited during marriage are separate property, not community property. And since the will was executed after divorce proceedings began, there's absolutely no claim here. Derek stood up. Your Honor, she knew. She knew her mother was leaving her money, and she didn't tell me. Judge Morrison's face could have frozen hell. Mr. Chen, sit down. You don't have counsel's permission to speak. But sit down. Derek sat. The judge turned to Patricia. Do you have the prenuptial agreement? Patricia handed over the document. Judge Morrison reviewed it, her expression growing more severe with each page. Mr. Chen, did you sign this prenup willingly? Yes, but did you have legal representation when you signed it? Yes. And you understood that it waived your claim to any assets Ms. Rodriguez owned prior to the marriage? Yes, but I didn't know. What you didn't know is irrelevant. You signed away your rights to your ex-wife's separate property. That includes inheritances. Your claim is frivolous and borders on harassment. She banged her gavel. Motion denied. Mr. Chen, if you file any further motions regarding this divorce settlement, I will hold you in contempt. Do you understand? Derek's face crumpled. Yes, Your Honor. We're done here. Outside the courtroom, Derek tried to approach me. Patricia stepped between us like a bodyguard. My client has a restraining order on you, Mr. Chen. I suggest you leave. Kate, please, he said, his voice breaking. I'm living in my car. I lost everything. I just need... You don't get to do this, I said, my voice cooled. You don't get to play the victim. You served me divorce papers at my mother's funeral. You cheated on me while she was dying. You tried to take everything from me, and when that didn't work, you tried to destroy me in court. You did this to yourself. I made mistakes. You made choices. There's a difference. Now leave me alone, Derek, for good this time. I walked away and didn't look back. That should have been the end of it. But 1 week later, Derek sent me a letter. Not through lawyers or email, but an actual handwritten letter delivered to the gallery. Simone found it first. Kate, you need to see this. I recognized Derek's handwriting immediately. Part of me wanted to throw it away unread, but curiosity won. Dear Kate, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I have no right to ask anything of you. But I'm writing this anyway because I need you to understand something. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking you to listen. I was raised by a father who told me that money equals worth, that success is measured in dollars and square footage and the car you drive, that love is transactional. You give to get, and if you're not getting enough, you leave. I spent my whole life believing that. I married you because you came from money, because you had connections, because I thought you could give me the life I'd been chasing. I didn't see you. I saw what you represented. When your mom got sick, I panicked. I saw the inheritance coming, and I knew I needed to position myself to benefit from it. That's why I was so attentive those first few months. That's why I insisted on being at the hospital. I was playing a role. But then something happened. Watching your mom die, watching you break apart and still show up every day with grace and strength, it should have changed me. It should have made me see how wrong I was about everything. Instead, I calculated. I looked at a dying woman and saw dollar signs. I looked at my grieving wife and saw an opportunity. I'm not telling you this to make excuses. I'm telling you because you deserve to know that none of it was your fault. You weren't too cold or too distant or too anything. I was just too broken to see what I had. When I served you those papers at the funeral, I thought I was being smart, strategic. I thought I was getting out before things got messy, before emotions complicated the clean break I wanted. I didn't know about the inheritance yet, that's true. But I knew your mom had money, and I knew I wasn't going to get any of it, so I wanted to leave before you could use it against me somehow. God, even writing that makes me sick. The irony is that losing you, losing everything, it finally broke something open in me. I've spent the last 3 months in therapy, court mandated after the restraining order, and I'm finally starting to understand how damaged I am. How damaged I've always been. I'm not asking you to care about my healing. I'm not asking you to take me back, or give me money, or even think of me kindly. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I destroyed. I see who you are, truly are, and I'm devastated by how blind I was. You're going to do incredible things with your gallery. You're going to build the life you deserve. And I hope, somewhere along the way, you find someone who sees you the way I never could. Someone who loves you for you, not for what you can give them. I'm leaving LA next week.
Moving to Portland to start over. My mom's up there. We haven't spoken in years, but she's willing to let me stay with her while I figure things out. I won't contact you again after this. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. Not just for getting caught or losing the money. Sorry for being the kind of person who could look at you and see a transaction instead of a miracle. I hope you never think of me again. Derek. I read the letter 3 times. Then I handed it to Simone. What do I do with this? She read it, her expressions cycling through disgust, anger, and something softer. I think you let it be what it is, an apology. Not absolution, not reconciliation, just an apology. He's trying to make me feel sorry for him. Maybe, or maybe he's just trying to take responsibility for once in his miserable life. I folded the letter and put it in my bag. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. Burn it, maybe? Or keep it as a reminder? Either way, it was just paper. Derek's words couldn't hurt me anymore. The gallery opening was scheduled for Valentine's Day weekend, Simone's idea, though I'd argued it was too on the nose. It's perfect, she'd insisted. Love yourself, love art, love new beginnings. Very LA, very Instagram. She wasn't wrong. The opening was packed. Everyone who was anyone in the LA art scene showed up, plus Mom's old friends, colleagues, people I'd worked with at Hartwell. Veronica gave a speech about my vision and talent that made me cry. Marcus Chen's painting sold out in the first hour. By 9 p.m., I was exhausted, exhilarated, and slightly drunk on champagne and success. That's when he walked in. Tall, dark-skinned, wearing a perfectly tailored suit and the kind of smile that made you want to smile back. He moved through the gallery slowly, studying each piece with genuine interest, not the performative appreciation so many collectors affected. "Beautiful show," he said when he reached me. "Thank you. Are you an artist or a collector?" "Neither. I'm a writer." "Julian Wade." He extended his hand. "I write for the Times, art and culture section." My stomach flipped. A review from Julian Wade could make or break a new gallery. Kate Rodriguez, owner and curator. "I know. I've been following your career for a while. Your work at Hartwell was impressive." "Not impressive enough to write about, apparently." He laughed. "Fair. But this," he gestured around the gallery, "this is worth writing about. You've created something special here." We talked for an hour about art, about LA, about what it meant to build something from nothing. He was intelligent, funny, disarmingly honest. When he asked for my number to follow up for the article, I gave it to him without hesitation. Simone appeared the moment he left. "Please tell me you're going to sleep with him." "Simone!" "What? He's gorgeous, obviously smart, and he was looking at you like you were one of the paintings, a much better painting than any of these, no offense to Marcus." "I just got divorced." 6 months ago, and you're not dead. Plus, unlike Derek, this guy seems to have a soul." She wasn't wrong, but the idea of dating again, of trusting someone new, felt impossible. 2 days later, Julian's article ran. It was glowing. He called Miranda's a vital new addition to LA's art scene and praised my intuitive curation and genuine passion.
The gallery's phone started ringing off the hook with new artists wanting to show their work, collectors wanting to buy, press wanting interviews. Success felt surreal. I kept waiting for something to go wrong, for Derek to show up and ruin everything. But he didn't. He was gone. Really gone. Off to Portland to start whatever new life he'd build there. And I was here, in the life I'd built for myself. Julian called that night. I hope the review was okay. I'd tried to be objective, but honestly, your gallery is the real deal. It was more than okay. Thank you. Listen, I know this is forward, but would you want to get coffee sometime? Not for an article, just coffee. My heart did something complicated. I'm not sure I'm ready for dating yet. Then let's call it coffee between two people who appreciate good art. No pressure, no expectations. I thought about Derek's letter, about how he'd never seen me as a person, only as a transaction. Julian Wade didn't know about the inheritance, didn't know about Derek or the divorce or any of it.
He just knew my gallery and wanted to know me. Coffee sounds good, I said. We met the next Saturday at a place in Silver Lake. Coffee turned into lunch, lunch into a walk around the reservoir, the walk into drinks that evening at a wine bar. He told me about growing up in Oakland, about his journalism career, about his failed marriage 3 years ago. She left me for her personal trainer, he said without bitterness. Total cliche, but honestly, we were wrong for each other from the start. I was too focused on my career, she wanted kids and stability, we wanted different things. Do you regret it? The marriage? No. The wasted time, sometimes. But it taught me what I actually want in a partner. Someone who's passionate about their own work, who has their own dreams. Someone who doesn't need me to complete them, but chooses to share their life with me anyway. I told him about Derek, about the funeral, the divorce, the court hearing. I didn't mention the money. I wasn't ready for that yet. But I told him enough. Jesus, he said. That's sociopathic. That's what everyone keeps saying. Are you okay? I mean, really okay? No one had asked me that in months. Not in that way, like they genuinely wanted to know. I'm getting there, I said honestly. Some days are better than others, but I'm building something good now. That helps. For what it's worth, your ex-husband is an idiot. Anyone who could walk away from you is a complete moron. It was such a simple statement, but it made my eyes sting. Thank you. He reached across the table and took my hand. Not possessively, not demandingly, just kindly. I'm not trying to rush anything here, Kate. I just want you to know that I see you, the real you, and I'd like to get to know her better, if you're open to it. I thought about Mom's letter, about building the life I deserved, about not letting Derek make me hard. I'm open to it, I said. We started dating slowly. Coffee dates, gallery openings, dinners at little restaurants in Los Feliz and Echo Park. Julian never pushed, never demanded. He was just there, present, engaged. Everything Derek hadn't been. One night in March, we were at my place, the Hollywood Hills house that was finally completely mine, when Julian said, I need to tell you something. My stomach dropped. Okay. I know about the inheritance. Everything stopped. How? I'm a journalist, Kate. After we started dating, I did some background research. Not to snoop, just to make sure I wasn't missing anything important. Your mom's will is public record. And you're telling me now because I don't want secrets between us. And because I want you to know that it doesn't matter to me. The money, I mean. Obviously, it matters to you. It's your mother's legacy. But it doesn't change how I see you. I stared at him. You're not asking for anything. Not hinting that we should move in together or that you need a loan or... Kate, no. God, no. I make good money. I don't need yours. I just need you to know that I know, and it changes nothing. Something in my chest cracked open. Derek would have Derek was a parasite. I'm not Derek. He pulled me close. I fell for you watching you talk about art that first night. I fell harder watching you build your gallery. The money is just money. You're what matters. I cried then. Really cried for the first time since Mom's funeral. All the grief, all the anger, all the fear, it came pouring out. And Julian just held me. Not trying to fix it, not telling me it would be okay, just being there. Thank you, I whispered when I could finally speak, for seeing me. Thank you for letting me. That night, I told him everything. About Derek's affairs, about the court hearing, about the letter, about how I'd felt nothing but hollow victory when it was all over. You know what the worst part is? I said. I don't even hate him anymore. I just feel sad. Sad that he was so broken he couldn't see what we could have had. Sad that I wasted 5 years on someone who never really knew me. Sad that my mom had to use her last months protecting me from my own husband. That's not the worst part, he said. That's the best part. It means you haven't let him make you bitter. You're still capable of empathy, of grace. That's a gift. Doesn't feel like a gift. It will, eventually. He was right. Over the next few months, the sadness transformed into something else. Not forgiveness exactly. Derek didn't deserve that. But acceptance. He'd been a chapter in my life. An important one even, but just a chapter. The story kept going. The gallery thrived. I opened a second location in downtown LA. Marcus Chen's career exploded. His work was featured in Art Forum, bought by the Getty. I curated a show of emerging female artists that got national attention. In June, Julian asked me to move in with him.
Or I could move in with you, he amended. Your house is nicer. I just want to wake up next to you every morning. That's a big step. I know, and if you're not ready, I want to, I said, surprising myself. I want to try. He moved into the Hollywood Hills house a month later. It felt different with him there. Lighter, warmer. He took over Mom's old study as his writing space, filling it with books and the smell of coffee. I taught him to appreciate contemporary art. He taught me to appreciate comic books, which he insisted were literature. We were building something. Not a transaction, not a performance, a partnership. In August, I got a Facebook friend request from someone named Derek Chen. Not my Derek, a different Derek Chen, apparently. It reminded me that I hadn't thought about my ex-husband in weeks. I mentioned it to Julian that night over dinner. I wonder how he's doing, I said. Do you want to know? I don't think so. Is that bad? It's healthy. He's not your responsibility anymore. He never really was. Julian reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You know what I love about you? You're strong enough to have survived him, but soft enough to still care. That's rare. I learned it from my mom. She sounds like she was incredible. She was. That night, I pulled out Mom's letter, the one she'd written me before she died. I'd read it dozens of times, but there was something I wanted to check. There, in the second-to-last paragraph. Don't let Derek make you hard, but don't let him make you soft either. The world needs women who are both strong and kind, who demand respect but offer grace. Be that woman, Kate. Be the woman I raised you to be. I'd been so focused on the first sentence that I'd missed the rest. Don't let him make you soft. Don't be a doormat. Demand respect, but also offer grace. It was the balance that mattered. I'd gotten my revenge on Derek, not through cruelty or destruction, but through simply living well. Through building the life Mom had enabled me to build. Through refusing to let his betrayal poison my capacity for love. Derek had gotten exactly what he deserved. Nothing. And I'd gotten exactly what I deserved. Everything. Not the money, though that helped. Not the gallery, though I loved it. But the freedom. The peace. The knowledge that I was worth more than anyone's worst treatment of me. In September, Julian proposed. Not with a big production or a public display. Just the two of us, on the deck of the Malibu house, watching the sunset. I love you, he said. I love your passion, your strength.
your ridiculously good taste in art and your terrible taste in reality TV. I love how you see the world, and I want to spend the rest of my life seeing it with you. Will you marry me?" The ring was simple, a single diamond on a platinum band. Beautiful, but understated. So different from the monstrosity Derek had given me. All flash and no substance. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I'll marry you." We got married on Valentine's Day weekend, 1 year after Miranda's opened. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Aunt Patricia cried through the whole thing. Simone was my maid of honor and gave a speech that was equal parts hilarious and touching. In my vows, I promised Julian honesty, partnership, and my terrible cooking. He promised me patience, laughter, and to never serve me divorce papers at a funeral. Everyone laughed. But it mattered to me.
He understood what I'd been through and promised to never put me through it again. Standing there in my simple white dress, holding Julian's hands, I felt Mom's presence. Not literally. I wasn't that kind of believer. But spiritually, emotionally. She'd given me the tools to survive Derek, to build something beautiful from the ashes of that marriage, to find someone worthy of my love. At the reception, Veronica pulled me aside. "Your mother would be so proud, Kate, of the gallery, of you, of all of it." "I hope so. I know so. She talked about you constantly those last few months, about how worried she was, about how she wanted to protect you. She'd be thrilled to see you this happy." I excused myself and went to the bathroom to cry. Happy tears this time, finally. When I came back out, Julian was waiting. "You okay?" "Yeah, just thinking about Mom." "You want to go to Malibu? We could skip the rest of the reception, just go sit on the deck." "No, I want to stay. I want to celebrate. I want to be here, now, with you." "Then that's what we'll do." We danced until midnight, ate too much cake, laughed with friends, built more memories. Later that night, back at the house, our house, Julian said, "I need to tell you something." "Is this going to ruin my wedding day?" "I don't think so. I got an email last week from Derek." My blood went cold. What did it say? "He's engaged to a woman he met in Portland. He wanted me to know, wanted us to know, that he's doing better, that therapy helped, that he's finally building the kind of life he should have built years ago." "Why would he tell you that?" "Because he wanted to make sure you knew he wasn't coming back, that he wasn't going to be a ghost hanging over us. It was actually kind of decent of him." I processed this. Derek was engaged. Derek was moving on. Derek was finally, truly, completely out of my life. "Good," I said. "I hope he's better to her than he was to me." I think that's the most grace I've ever heard someone show an ex. Mom taught me that. Be strong, but not hard. Demand respect, but offer grace. Julian pulled me close. "Your mom was right about everything, wasn't she?" "Pretty much." We stood there in the quiet, holding each other, two people who'd been broken by others and had found their way to something whole. The next morning, I drove out to Malibu alone. Julian understood. Some things you had to do by yourself. I walked down to the beach and sat in the sand, watching the waves crash. "I did it, Mom," I said to the ocean. "I built the gallery. I found someone good. I survived." The ocean didn't answer, but the sun was warm on my face, and the sand was soft beneath me, and I felt more at peace than I had in years. Derek had tried to destroy me. He'd calculated, manipulated, betrayed. And in the end, all he'd done was set me free. Free to build the life I deserved. Free to love someone who actually saw me. Free to become the woman Mom had raised me to be. Strong, but not hard. Demanding respect, but offering grace. Surviving, but not just surviving. Thriving. The gallery was a success. My marriage was healthy. My life was mine. And Derek? Derek got exactly what he'd earned. A fresh start somewhere else, building whatever redemption he could find. I hope he found it. Not for his sake, but for the sake of whoever he was with now. I hoped he'd learned. I hoped he'd grown. I hoped he was better. But mostly I just hoped he stayed gone. Because this life, my life, didn't have room for ghosts anymore. I drove back to Julian and our house and our future, made breakfast while he wrote, planned the gallery's next show, lived my life. And if sometimes I thought about Derek, about what we'd been and what we'd lost, it was only for a moment, only long enough to remember that I'd survived, that I'd won. Not by destroying him, that had been unnecessary. He'd destroyed himself. But by refusing to let his betrayal define me, by building something beautiful anyway, by loving again anyway, by being brave enough to trust anyway. That was the real victory. Not the money, not the successful divorce, not even the gallery, but the courage to keep being soft in a world that had tried to make me hard, to keep offering grace even when I had been shown none, to keep building even when everything had been torn down. Mom had taught me that, and in the end, that was the greatest inheritance of all. Not the $4.2 million, though I'd used it well, but the knowledge that I was worth more than anyone's worst treatment of me, that I deserved love, respect, partnership, that I was enough. I stood in my kitchen, my beautiful sun-filled kitchen, and felt grateful. Grateful for Mom, grateful for Julian, grateful for Simone and Veronica and everyone who'd stood by me. Even, in a strange way, grateful for Derek. Because without him, I might never have learned how strong I really was. I might never have learned what real love looked like. I might never have learned that revenge is a dish best served not at all. That the best response to betrayal is simply to build a life so beautiful, the betrayer becomes irrelevant. Derek had called it perfect timing, and in a way, he'd been right. Just not in the way he'd meant. Perfect timing for me to wake up, to see clearly, to start over, to become who I was always meant to be. The greatest revenge isn't destruction, it's transformation. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them, then use that knowledge to build something they could never diminish. True strength isn't about hardening your heart against pain, but about remaining open to joy despite it. Grace isn't weakness, it's the ultimate power. And sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing you ever do for yourself.